So what can I do for you?
So I am not Muslim. I don't believe in anything specifically, just that perhaps there is the possibility of a God out there. I do have like Muslim friends and I know of Muslim people, and I respect your religion. I was just wondering, like, from your perspective, like, why should someone become Muslim?
Are you from what kind of family are you from? What kind of background when it comes to religion?
So my parents are Chinese, but I grew up in Italy.
Yeah, so you didn't grow up with like Catholic parents or something in Italy, or no? Did they accept Catholicism or they?
No, but my
Okay,
parents are Buddhists.
sure. So why we think the question is why do I think people should accept Islam, or what's the question exactly?
Just like your perspective on, like, yeah, why should someone become Muslim and specifically take that religion?
Yeah, people should become Muslim because Islam is the truth. When we
Yeah.
say the truth, it means it's your purpose in this life, why God has created you and put you on this earth. Everybody exists here, has a sense of seeking purpose. That's a part of our human nature, our existence. Some people would try to go and seek meditation. Some other people are going to worship their own desires, materialistic things like money, women, this and that. You're going to worship anything else. Some people will worship their own selves, their ego, their fame. But everybody has to worship something in the end. This is how God has created us. This is how the Creator has created us. It's a part of our human nature and existence. We have seen a multitude of prophets and messengers, people who claim to be prophets and messengers sent by God. All of them, they say the same thing. There's a creator, someone that created the heavens and the earth. You're supposed to connect to that creator. You're supposed to follow a certain set of moral commandments that comes to you from that God. So that it's a question of truth now. Question number one. It's either there's a God or there's no God. There's no third option. There's no middle option. It's either there's a God or there isn't a God. And it's either Islam is from God or Islam is not from God. And that would apply to any religion that would make a claim is from God. And there are not many really. So for example, if you talk about Buddhism, it's not even a religion you could argue. You could argue it's just a philosophy. It's living your life in a certain specific philosophy. There's many other ideologies like this that are philosophical in nature. They are not even evangelizing, that it tries to bring people into their own tradition. So there really aren't that many religions that you need to investigate that have merit or have some sort of claim that people need to go and investigate. So these major religions that are out there, that are actual religions, that are evangelizing, that would tell you, for example, if you don't believe there is an afterlife, there's a hellfire, there's a paradise, there's reward, there's punishment, are the ones that you need to investigate. And then in the end, you need to accept that which is true. So I'm a Muslim because Islam is the truth. If Islam wasn't the truth, I wouldn't be a Muslim. If Christianity was the truth, I'd be a Christian. If Judaism was the truth, I'd be a Jewish person. If Hinduism was, I'll accept it tomorrow. I have no allegiance to any specific religion. I have an allegiance to that which is true. Because it's way easier not to be a Muslim than to be a Muslim in reality. Or to be any religion, really, except Christianity, because Christianity, you just summon that for all your sins, so you're okay. But for most religions that have practices, it's easier to be non-religious than to be religious, right? Because you can just do whatever you like. So it's not like someone will be like, oh, I just want to follow this for the sake of following it. No, we are following Islam because we know Islam is the truth. There's evidences, undeniable evidences, that Prophet Muhammad is a messenger coming from God. Of course, first for the existence of God, then for Prophet Muhammad being a messenger of God. There's undeniable evidence for that. And since there is undeniable evidence for that, I follow Islam based on that. And I know that everything in Islam is for my own benefit in the end. That's something I, every day, by the way, you question Islam every day, you ask questions about it every day, you investigate what Islam teaches. The more you realize that this must be from God. Because the more you discover this is not only have answers for everything, but the commands are for your own benefit. That is surpassing the knowledge, the technology, everything that we know. Islam is already surpassing.
Okay, thank you. That was all I wanted to ask.
Okay, so what stops you from being a Muslim then? Let me ask you the question. Let me return the question the other way around, yeah? What is stopping you from being a Muslim then? If you've been investigating Islam and studying.
I mean, I wouldn't say I've been like studying it. I think it's just hard for me to accept it as like the truth, as it goes for every religion.
Okay. So do you believe, let's start because I didn't ask you. You believe in God or you don't believe in God? Let's start with that.
I think there is the possibility of a God, but I also wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't one.
No, it's not a question of possibility. It's a question of there is or there isn't, right? You agree with me it's one of two options. Or
Yes.
do you believe there's a third option? There's no third option. It doesn't exist rationally. It's either there is a God or there is no God. There couldn't be a third option where there is half a God, there is no, right? It's just there is a God or there is no God. So we're not talking about possibilities now. We're talking about, that's why I'm talking about truth. That's why I started with this concept with you. Because what should matter is what is true. That's what should matter. So the question is, you don't know the answer to that question. Is that what you're telling me? You're saying there could be a God, there couldn't be a God. You don't know. You don't believe in a God right now, though. Or you do believe in a God and a higher power.
I believe in higher power, possibly. I just feel like we can never know for sure because like there is God will never appear in front of our eyes and so then I can be sure that he exists or they exist.
Okay, I heard you typing on your keyboard, like you have a keyboard in front of you, right?
Yes.
Did someone make that keyboard?
Yes.
Are you certain?
Like somebody created this keyboard.
Yes.
Yes.
But are you certain, right?
Yes.
What's their name?
I don't know.
Have you seen the process of its manufacturing?
No.
No. So why did you say, for God, I need to see God? Or with something else, you accept what that being created enough for the existence of that being? So why is the universe, the question is this, if this simple keyboard is very simple, right? If this simple keyboard requires by necessity creator to create it, I haven't seen the creator. And by the way, let me tell you what atheists will say to this argument, right? Because we would say, which one, first I'm going to ask you, which one is more complex? Which one is harder to make, a keyboard or you as a human being?
Sorry? Which one is
harder to make? Which one is more complex?
Oh, a human being.
Okay, a human being or the universe?
The universe.
The universe, okay. So I believe this simple keyboard in comparison to us and the universe requires by necessity a maker and a manufacturer, right? We haven't seen it. We don't know the name. None of us doubts for a second that someone created this. Now, I'll tell you what some atheists will say. They will say, but I've seen other devices being created. That's what they will say. And they will say, I can go and see a factory that creates keyboards, right? This is what they will say. But I'll say to them, you can make that claim, but this argument doesn't work because just because another keyboard was created, it doesn't necessitate this one was. You haven't seen the maker of this specific one, but you still believe it. If you only say to me, I only believe in the keyboard that I've seen with my eyes, because that's the argument, you have to see the maker. If you say, I only believe in the keyboard that I've seen with my eyes, the manufacturer, the creator creates, then I would agree with you. But if you say you believe in it because other people have done it, then now you're using a rational argument without seeing the manufacturer. You're using reasoning, you're using testimony, you're not seeing the maker anymore. Plus, I'll give another argument. The pyramids. Does anyone doubt that the pyramids have been created?
No.
Built.
Like nobody doubts.
Do we know who built the pyramids? Have we seen the people who built the pyramids? Or is it still one of the wonders that people cannot explain? Have we seen pyramids being built like this pyramid? No. So nobody can come and make that argument with the pyramids. But they believe that the pyramid is created. Why? Because it's sophisticated in a way in which if you have like a random person from the Amazon jungle and you bring him and he looks at the pyramid, he's not going to think this is a random thing in the desert. He's going to think someone has made this. Why? Because it has a design, right? It has an intricate, complex structure that requires something to build it. So now the question is this. When we look at the universe, that universe, can any being like me and you create it?
Yes.
We can create a universe.
No, not we, like a God, like a greater being.
Yeah. I'm saying, is any being we know of, is anything able to create a universe?
No.
Like imagine creating even a human being. Let alone now talking about universe. So if we can't create this, What do we need to create the universe? Why me and you can create the universe? What's the reason?
I would not be able to tell you.
So why wouldn't you be able to tell me? What do you think? What do we need to create a universe? Okay, I'll tell you and you tell me if you agree. We need an amount of knowledge that nobody can comprehend to completely understand how the universe works. All of the orbits, the stars, the galaxies, the electromagnetic waves, dark matter, which we even don't know what it is, the difference between dark energy and dark matter. What even is dark matter? We don't know. So you need an amount of knowledge that we can even comprehend. We need an amount of power we cannot comprehend because the universe is atoms, and atoms have so much power. If you split them, you have nuclear explosions. That's how we have these atomic bonds. Atomic bonds, right? For a reason, they're called atomic bonds because they're atoms.
Mm-hmm.
So the universe is full of energy, full of knowledge. And then we require to be not restricted by time space, because literally the beginning of the universe is the beginning of time space continuum. Okay, so we need to be able to create that ourselves, which we can do because we exist within it. So then do you agree with me that whatever creates the universe must possess these attributes, or it cannot create a universe?
Yes.
Okay, so what is the being, or what is that thing that we say has power we cannot comprehend, knowledge you cannot comprehend, not bound by time and space, meaning eternal, everlasting, and not bound by these things? What is that? What do we call it?
I guess a God.
Okay, so the question is there any doubt then that there is a God? Just looking at the universe, coming to that conclusion, just I look at this keyboard and come to the conclusion there is no doubt there's a creator.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not a question of maybe, because nothing can create a universe without these attributes. It's impossible. You cannot have a universe unless you have the attributes of God. So if there is no God, there is no universe. It's as simple as that. Just like if there is no keyboard manufacturer, there's no keyboard. If there is no God with these attributes, there is no universe. If there is a universe, then there must be a creator with these attributes, which what people refer to as a God. Okay? So that is the first thing we start with. So now we agree on the existence of God. Now we look at the prophets. We have prophets and messengers and people that come from the Creator. Okay? The question is now, Prophet Muhammad I'm going to tell you what he did. And then you can tell me, I'm not sure what you're familiar with, but I'm going to tell you some of what he did. And then you explain to me if he was not sent by that God, because this is another way now I can prove that God exists. What I'm about to tell you is another way to prove that God exists as well. We already proved it, but this is going to prove Islam is true and also God exists, which is what Prophet Muhammad did. Peace be upon him. What did Prophet Muhammad do? Well, he came to his people. He was in the deserts of Arabia 1,400 years ago. Okay? No TVs, no planes, no cars, no microscopes, no microwaves, no telescopes, no technology of what we know today. No phones, right? No ChatGPT where he can go Google information and come back, yeah? No way to go and learn knowledge from here and there because he has to travel for a month. Here and here and here and here to collect knowledge. That's the only way you can know something. In the past, they would go and travel for a month to get one narration, one piece of information that the Prophet said. They would travel for years, a month, to get one piece of information, one sentence the Prophet said. Because that's the only way to access knowledge at that time. So at that time, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who was born with his people, lived with his people for 40 years, he couldn't read or write because most of the community couldn't read or write. They were an illiterate nation. The Arabs at that time, they were not a nation of literacy. They were an illiterate nation. So Prophet Muhammad also couldn't read or write. Then Prophet Muhammad comes up with this literature, which is now, it has its own genre in the Arabic language because you have prose and poetry. The Quran has its own genre. It's not prose and it's not poetry. So poetry follows rhythm C's or metrics. The Quran doesn't follow any of them, but it has rhymes. But it's not poetry because it doesn't follow any of these rhythms. And it's not prose as well. It's not normal, just speech. It has its own category in the Arabic language. Now the Quran, is what the Arab used to form the grammar of the Arabic language because it's the highest literature. So the Quran is what is used to form the grammar of the Arabic language. So this person who couldn't read or write, he brought this literature. Then within that literature, not only did he bring that literature, which he challenged the people to bring something like it, and nobody could until this day, with all of this technology, AI language models and all of that, nobody's able to imitate the Quran. Then within that literature, then you have prophecies of the future. Talking about tens of or hundreds of prophecies of the future. They're happening right now. We can see them happening right now with our own eyes, 1,400 years later. A prophet said they will happen, and they happen. Prophet said things will happen at his time, they happen. He said hundreds of years after him, they happen. He said things that are happening today, literally, we see with our own eyes, and they're happening. None of these prophecies were false. The Quran speaks about the natural world, speaks about how the universe is created, speaks about mountains, speaks about rivers, the seas, the clouds. It speaks about embryology. It speaks about everything you can think about. And the knowledge within it, now we're keeping up with it. We have discoveries in the 19th century, the 20th century. All of these discoveries are revealing that what the Quran says 1,400 years ago is the truth. And nobody can find anything in the Quran that it describes the natural world, describes the universe in a way which is inaccurate. Nobody can find that. Because if the Prophet was just making up information, right, you'll find a million mistakes. Just like you go to the book of the Hindus, tells you there's 7 horses pulling the sun. There is a bull with his 2 horns holding the planet Earth. And there was all of these stuff. You go to the Bible, in Job, chapter 10, it tells you the human was poured like milk and cradled like cheese. This is embryology. This was the knowledge of the people at the time. Don't blame them, because it's human knowledge. It's not godly knowledge. However, the Quran doesn't have any of this. The knowledge in it, we are trying to keep up with it today. Then you have the Quran also describing the past, the history, like what the ancient Egyptians did. And none of this information is found in previous scriptures. It's not found in with previous people saying it. It's unique to the Quran. Describing things that Pharaoh did that we today are learning is true by finding new artifacts. Describing things in ancient Mesopotamia with Abraham and his people. Describing a multitude of things that nobody could have known. Because the language was dead, the hieroglyphics was dead that time, nobody was reading it. And these temples were buried under the sand. But the Quran is reflecting this information that today we discover artifacts. We're like, oh, look, this artifact says exactly what the Quran says 1,400 years ago, that these people were doing exactly what the Quran says they were doing. And all of these things, who's doing them? A man in the deserts of Arabia, like I said, who couldn't read or write. Then the Quran, Islam comes with this perfect system that has a system for society, for marriage, for divorce, for how to live your life, for eating, for drinking, for sleeping, for courts, for everything you can think about. A comprehensive system for life that is implemented until this day. Now, my question is, if God doesn't exist, and Prophet Muhammad is not truly a messenger from that God, which he claimed, he didn't say this information is from me. He didn't say, I know these things. He said that the creators revealed these things to me. Now, the question is this. If there is no God, or he's not a messenger of God, what rational explanation can you give me for him doing these things?
I mean, let's assume that there is a God. Do you have like examples of exactly what prophecies have come true?
But wait, but before we say, let's assume there is a God, haven't we agreed on the logic that there is a God?
Yes.
So why do we say, let's assume there's a God? Because before moving on, I'd like to say it to make sure that we are in the right place. Because we've already proved that there is a God. It's like Mira and I would be like, let's assume someone made this keyboard, okay? But does this keyboard, can you write on it? We already know someone made it. Nobody's going to assume anything. We know it's being made, right? It's a fact. It's not something we can even argue about. When it comes to the prophecies, I'll give you a few examples. It's a multitude of different prophecies made by Prophet Muhammad. I'll give you a few examples. For instance, you have a specific prophecy at the time of the Prophet. You had the 2 major empires, which had more than half of the planet. The Roman and Persian Empire, the Byzantine and the Sassanid Empire. They were fighting each other, and the Romans have been defeated by the Persians. This is around the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him. This is happening right now. We're talking about all the way from 618 AD. And you have these battles taking place. And the Romans have been defeated, and the Persians have completely annihilated them. They took over Damascus, they took over Antioch, they took over Jerusalem. You know, the Roman Empire was a Christian empire that time, the time of the Prophet. You know that, right? Because Constantine adopted Christianity in the 4th century. So it was a Christian empire. So Jerusalem was the heart of the empire because, as you know, it's where Jesus is from. It's a Christian empire. So the Persians took over Jerusalem. They completely annihilated the Romans. Historians at that time were saying that's the end of the Roman Empire. And we have Roman historians writing about this. Like we have Chronicles of Theophans, where he tells us the date, and he tells us the battles, and he tells us how badly the Romans were destroyed. We have this letter sent from the Persian king to the Roman king, calling him a dog and surrender now. It's like everybody was saying that's the end of the Roman Empire. Then the Quran comes and makes a definitive claim that nobody would make. Because if you want to make a claim when you don't know the truth, you'll make the easy claim. You will say the Persians will destroy the Romans. You're already destroying them.
Mm-hmm.
No, but the Quran comes and says, no, the Romans have been defeated in chapter 30, but they are going to defeat the Persians. And it gives you a specific time frame. It uses the word bid'a, fi bid'i sinin. Bid'a in the Arabic language means from 3 to 9. Now, some people might sometimes ask, why does it say 3 to 9? It doesn't say 3 to 9 in numbers. It just uses a word in the Arabic language, which is bid'a, which means 3 to 9. It's like saying in a few years, right? If you use the word few. Few is not a number, but it ranges from a specific set of numbers. You cannot say few is 500, right? That's not few. So bid'a in the Arabic language means 3 to 9. So the Quran gives you a specific framework. If I am a liar, I'm just going to say, even if I want to make that claim, I'm going to say the Romans are going to bounce back one day and defeat the Persians, right? Because I want to be, I'm worried. I'm not going to put a time frame if I'm a liar, especially not 3 to 9 years, which is very, very short period of time for an empire to revive itself and defeat another empire when it's on the brink of collapse. So the Quran says, why does the Quran say though from 3 to 9 years? Because if you look, the defeats were happening year after year. Defeats were not like one defeat and that was it. No, they had multitude of battles. And you can even say some historians arguing when exactly is the year of defeat. Was it after 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, or 9 years? But you will see this, all of these defeats are within the time frame of the Quran. And that's why the Quran is using that word. So it's being comprehensive of these subjective interpretations of defeat as well. And what nobody have imagined, the Roman Empire bounces back, defeats the Persians, and goes in the heart of the Persian Empire and burns down their main temple. Their main temple of worship. Because fire worshippers and pagans and whatever. So, like, how would the Prophet know this specific information? And the Quran also says that the Romans were defeated in the lowest land. It uses the word adna for the lowest. The land that the Romans were defeated in, we look at geographically and below sea level. It is the lowest land on the entire planet. Why would the Quran use this term that they were defeated in the lowest land, which is near the Dead Sea, which is the lowest land below sea level? How can the Quran know this? How can the Prophet know this possibly? How can he know which land is the lowest low? So he can say they were defeated in the lowest land. You give me a rational explanation. How can he know when they were defeated? And why would he even risk of giving a time frame? And by the way, you know what the Quran says when it gives this prophecy? It says, Wa'ad Allah, the promise of Allah. It doesn't say maybe, maybe not. When you're a liar, you're worried, like maybe this will happen, maybe this. The Quran says, the promise of Allah, Allah does not break his promise. By the way, there's another prophecy because it says the believers will rejoice that day. And with that same day that the Romans were defeated, the believers had a battle and they won the battle and they were rejoicing. So you have 3 things in this prophecy. 2 prophecies, one about the believers rejoicing on the day of the defeat of the Persians, which was a battle that they won. Number 2, the time where they will defeat them. And the extraordinary prophecy that is against all odds, that is being put as a promise. And then the idea that this is the lowest land. I'm just going to use this one prophecy. I'm going to ask you how Prophet Muhammad knows this. And I can give you right now tons of examples. But let's start with this. Tell me only this prophecy is enough. How would he know this? Rationally.
I guess there is no rational way to say how he would know this. But I was wondering, how do we know that the Quran has been safely preserved throughout all these years? That the content that was written back then is still loyal to what we have now?
Yeah, great question. So there's 2 main methods of preservation that we preserve the Quran. First, Islamic nation is the only nation that has something called the oral tradition of memorizing the Quran. No other nation on earth has this tradition. Only us. We memorize the entire Quran from beginning to end. And by the way, we don't just memorize the words, we memorize the vowels. We memorize the letters. We memorize how long you say the word. So for me, I can say Alif Lam Mim, or I can say Alim, or Alam, or Alum. They're all the same letters. But no, you recite it exactly as I said it. We say Waladdallin. We have to say it specifically in that way. If you don't say it in that specific way, you'll be corrected. If I'm reciting the Quran in a prayer, and behind me are Muslims, and I say غير المغضوب عليهم, they will correct me because it's غير المغضوب. The word is the same, but it's just the vowels of how you say the word is preserved in Islam. To that extent, we preserve the Quran. So that entire text of the Quran, from the beginning of it to the end of it, these rules, we call it tajweed, and this entire Quran, we memorize it from beginning to end. All of it. Now, you had that tradition from the time of the Prophet. When the Prophet, peace be upon him, died, the last sermon he gave, there was over 120,000 companions. And then we had thousands of memorizers that memorized the entire Quran. Not only they memorized the entire Quran, they recited it on the Prophet to make sure that they are memorizing it the right way. So they make sure that they have received it the right way. In fact, he instructed people that there are 4 best memorizers, and he said, take the Quran from these best memorizers as well, because they have been instructed. He told them the Quran, they recited the best, take it from them. You can take from others, of course, but these are the best. So we had thousands of people memorizing. Then the Quran, Islam spread very fast. I'm not sure if you know or not. Islam spread very, very, very fast. And then more and more people came into Islam, and then the number of memorizers only increases. So now we go from thousands to tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions. Today we have millions of memorizers of the Quran. We have something, a certificate, which we call it ijazah. This certificate has, if I memorize the Quran, I have a certificate, I have an ijazah. It has my name, then my teacher's name, then his teacher's name, all the way back to Prophet Muhammad. So the people who memorize the Quran, there's many people who memorize the Quran who don't have an ijazah, who don't even have the certificate, they still memorize it. But we have millions of people with certificates as well, with the names tracing back all the way to Prophet Muhammad. And this tradition, we keep. How do we keep this tradition alive? Every year, in Ramadan, the month where we fast, in every mosque, if you go to majority of the mosques, we recite the entire Quran. The 30 parts of the Quran from beginning to end, we recite 1 part a day in the month, the 30 parts. Some mosques even recite 2 parts and they finish it twice in the month. You go and you can listen to the entire Quran. Someone from memory, he's reciting it. And then if he makes any mistake, people behind him memorizing, they correct him instantly. So this tradition of memorizing the Quran makes it impossible for anyone to change it. I'll give you a basic example. Now, the alphabet. You memorize the alphabet, I memorize the alphabet. Can anyone change the alphabet? No. Because there's millions of people who memorize the alphabet. People recite it in schools. It's way less than the Quran. The Quran is a lot more recited and every day by Muslims. But I'm saying even the alphabet is an easy example. If I say A, D, C, B, someone is going to say it's A, B, C, D. Even in the order of saying it, they will correct me. Because there is an order that is being taught that people learn it and people memorize it. Now imagine the Quran, every Muslim recites the Quran in their prayer. And the Quran is being recited every year, like I said, in Ramadan, the whole of it. Parts are always being recited all over the world in every prayer. But the whole thing is also being recited off by heart in Ramadan. So we have this main method of preservation, which is why we know even if you take every book and throw it in the sea. Now imagine right now we just do this experiment and we throw every religious literature in the sea. The only religious literature that is going to come back is the Quran. Because it's the only religious literature that you can reproduce from memory. Nobody memorizes the entire Bible. Nobody, I haven't even met a single person that memorizes an entire gospel, one gospel, let alone the New Testament or the Old Testament or the entire Bible. So it's the only religion that has this tradition is Muslims. Okay, so that's more than enough to show that the Quran is being preserved. But we also have manuscripts of the Quran. We have, for example, the Sana'a manuscripts, which is 15,000 parchments that trace back to 950 different Qurans that have been examined by non-Muslims, like Dr. Ursula Drepholz and many others. And they will tell you, they examine these manuscripts and they wrote books telling you that this is the same Quran that we're reading today. Because the manuscripts there is from 950 different Qurans, 15,000 harsh limits from the 1st century onwards. And they're the exact same Quran that we have. The only thing you find in these texts is because they had like leather and rocks. So they would wipe. They don't have like, they can bring a new leather. No, they only have limited leathers. So they can delete something and then write over it. However, all of these manuscripts confirm what we have in our hand today. But it's not only the Sana'a manuscript. We have also the top copy manuscript, which is late 1st century, early 2nd century. It has 99 point something of the Quran. 99.8 or 99, I don't remember. And it's the exact same Quran that we have right now. We have multitude of different manuscripts. So many manuscripts. Not that we need them. By the way, we have a parchment, which has parts of the Quran from chapter 2. It is from the time of the Prophet himself, from his life. And we have it in Birmingham. Who is dating it is the British, It's in the Birmingham Museum. It's called the Birmingham Parchment of the Quran. You can Google it right now. It is from the life of the Prophet himself. And it is the same Quran that we're reading. So nobody can doubt that the Quran is preserved. Nobody who's genuine in the research can doubt the Quran is preserved. That's why the people who examine these manuscripts have admitted to that, even non-Muslims. And of course, Muslims admit to the same thing. You have Dr. Angelica Neuroth. You have so many others I can mention that are not Muslims. They're academics, professors. She's a professor in university, German. She will tell you the same thing. The Quran is preserved. So we'll come back to the question now. Now we know for a fact that the Quran is preserved.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how you said to me he couldn't have brought this information on his own. Because look, you can make a guess about the future, but you will never put a time frame. You will never choose the empire that is losing and say it's the one that is going to win. If you put a time frame, you're not going to make it a short time frame. You're not going to say this is a promise that is necessarily going to happen for sure. You're going to try and make up some excuses. You're going to give some vague thing. You're not going to know if you know about some empires or fighting, you're not going to know about what land is geographically the lowest below sea level. You can't know this. You cannot possibly know that on that day, which you do not know which day is going to be, the Muslims are going to be winning a battle and rejoicing. How could you know that possibly? Because you don't even know which day they're going to win. How do you know the Muslims are going to be rejoicing on that day? So how is it possible? It is impossible. I'm giving you one example. By the way, I have a video on my channel called Compelling Evidences for the Truthfulness of Islam. And I'm creating a series on this, of each of these evidences of Islam. But this video is sufficient. I bring tens of examples. I can give you more now if you want. There's tens of examples. This only for the prophecies. But I can also give you multiple examples for the history that I told you that nobody knew. I can give you multiple examples for the Quran talking about embryology, biology, the clouds, the water, the things that nobody knew, the universe, cosmology. How is it possible for a man in the deserts of Arabia to know this? The answer is impossible if it's not from God. Because when you compare it to other scriptures, I told you, the easiest way you can know scriptures from God or not, the knowledge, if it's an ancient scripture, the knowledge will reflect the knowledge of the people. You go back and see, what did the people believe at the time? So, majority of the people believe the earth is flat. The Quran comes and says, no, the earth is round. It goes against the beliefs of the people. If you are a liar, you take what people are saying generally. You don't go against the beliefs of the people. That's why I told you, I mentioned to you the Hindu scripture, I mentioned to you things in Christianity, because it was reflecting the knowledge of the people. It was written by humans, and it was reflecting human knowledge. The Quran is reflecting divine knowledge. That's how you can know for a fact that it has to be the scripture coming from God. So the question would be then, why wouldn't you follow it? Why wouldn't you follow the truth that is coming from God? Especially that the teachings within it are for your own benefit. Nothing the Quran teaches you is not for your benefit. Nothing the Quran tells you is for your harm. Think about anything harmful. You will see that Islam is preventing it because it wants your benefit. Think about anything good or beneficial, and you will see that Islam is telling you to do it. There isn't any example that someone can bring and say, look, this is harmful and Islam is teaching it. Or this is beneficial and Islam is not teaching it. You're not going to find that. Because it's a perfect system for life. And Islam doesn't ask you to be perfect. Anybody will make mistakes. But it is the guidance that comes from God, that the Creator who created you, that is worthy of your gratitude for everything that He's given you. So why wouldn't you take that step and be like, okay, I want to follow that Creator. I want to submit to that Creator. Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah, these are all very good points that I will keep in mind. I wasn't really coming here to like make an argument or anything like that. I just wanted to learn more about it and hear like your perspective on things. And I think
Do you feel like, yeah, do you feel like we were having an argument? No, right? Or you're asking questions and we're giving answers.
uh,
And it's a very beneficial.
no, I didn't feel like we were having an argument. I felt like it was more
Okay,
like I was asking questions and you were giving me answers.
perfect. So that's the purpose of what we're doing. Allah says in the Quran, in chapter 2, verse 256, there's no compulsion in religion, right? The truth have manifested clearly from falsehood. So whoever disbelieves in false deities, of worship of false things, and worships Allah, then he is truly held on to the truth. There is no separation of that truth. This is what Islam is about. Islam doesn't compel anybody to do anything. However, just you see, you don't have any, just like you don't have any answer. If you bring me the smartest person on earth, he wouldn't have a rational answer as well. I have had people make all sorts of excuses. You know, someone was telling me, Prophet Muhammad was the smartest human in history. He was the biggest genius. That's why he knew all of this. Okay, bro. Oh, okay. Like he is like, because I told him, okay, he was saying, oh, he took this knowledge from here or there, which wasn't even there. But in order for him to take knowledge, he had to have traveled the entire planet, spoke Greek, spoke Asian Aramaic, spoke Syriac, spoke Asian Hebrew, read the Hebrew scriptures, read the Greeks and their differences, had the knowledge of knowing what is right and wrong so he can pick the right and leave the wrong. Like, I'm like, somehow got all the prophecies of the future correct, somehow. He was so smart. He traveled to Egypt where nobody knew, and he got inside the pyramid and he started to decipher the hieroglyphics before we found the Rosetta Stone, which we used to translate the language in 1799, by the way, and he was 1,400 years ago. He somehow was the only genius that was able to somehow. Hey, look, nobody will believe this nonsense. Nobody will believe, because everybody knows it's impossible. And if he was doing this because he was like the smartest person or whatever, he will ask for everything for himself. He will get as much money as he can. He will get as much power as he can. The life of Prophet Muhammad, a man would come and he would be sitting around his companions in the floor, and the man would ask, where is Muhammad? Do you know why he asked, where's Muhammad? Because he wasn't sitting on a throne like a king. He doesn't even know where he is. He looks like everyone else. It's like you sitting with your friends. Imagine you and the Queen of England, and you're all sitting in a coffee shop. You look the same. The person comes in, he doesn't even know which is the Queen and which is you, because you're living like everybody else. Prophet would sleep on a mat and he would leave like marks on him, right? And he would wear these cheap clothes. The Prophet, his wife would report that 2 months they would only survive on dates and water. Prophet Muhammad, one time, he met two of his closest companions. They were coming out. They were walking because they were hungry. There's no food. So they came out of their house. They were hungry. The Prophet Muhammad came out. He was hungry. One of them met the other. He said, what brought you out? He said, I was hungry. I didn't find anything. Then they met the Prophet. Prophet asked, what did you bring you out? He said, we're hungry. He said, I'm hungry too. Then there was one Muslim, and he said, okay, come on, invite you guys to come and eat. Do you know he was the messenger of God we talk about thousands or tens of thousands of followers. He can just like this, go bring me food. When he died, his shield was pawned with a Jewish person. Do you know why? Why did he pawn his shield with a Jewish person?
I don't know.
Guess, like, why would he do this? Why a Jewish person? Why would he pawn his shield? But of course, when you pawn something, you don't have money. Right? So you pawn something so you can get money so you can survive. So he didn't have money, but why would he go to a Jewish person? I'll tell you. The reason he will go to a Jewish person, if he goes to a Muslim, what is the Muslim going to say? Oh, Prophet of God, take everything. No, don't give me your shield. Take everything, right? Because he's going to be like, you're the Prophet of God. So he doesn't want to use his prophethood. You understand? This is not something he uses to gain worldly gain.
Mm-hmm.
So he would go to the Jewish person who doesn't believe in him, because the Jewish person will take the shield and will deal with him in a trade way. You understand? So if he was making all of this stuff up, all of these people are saying, why would he go and tell people worship God alone, leave the idol worship, and need to be fought, and they attack him and try to kill him because he told them leave idol worship? He wouldn't care about idol worship. If he knew all of this knowledge, he would just be the leader. They came and they told him, you can be our leader. If you want women, we'll give you women. If you want money, we'll give you our money. Just stop this. Stop calling people away from our pagan worship. And he refused. So there is no way that you can come up with an explanation except that he was a messenger of God. He told them, it's not in my control. I'm a messenger of God. As the Quran says, I'm only a messenger being revealed, having revelation from God. I'm only following that which has been revealed to me. So if we know, this is now is going to come to it. I'm not going to put you on the spot. So you can take your time and think about it, right? For me, it's not about, just become a Muslim right now. That's not the if you want to, I'm more than happy. Of course you can. However, you would accept Islam upon conviction. That's the purpose, to accept Islam upon true conviction. About understanding it, researching, and making sure that everything you hear is the truth. However, you would only have one of two choices. Allah says in the Quran, فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَجِيبُوا لَكَ. If they do not listen to you, if they don't accept the message after the proofs have been presented, they know they're only following their desires. There's only two paths. The path of guidance from God, or the path of, I want to do this, I want to do that, I like to do this, my family is this, my this is that, but one day I'm going to die. One day I'm going to die, right? And if this is the truth, which we already know is the truth, we already established it, then there will be a resurrection day. I will be held accountable for everything I do. And either I'm going to have eternal punishment or eternal reward. There's no third option. So I can trick and play games and not do what the Creator has commanded me to do. Or I can say, you know what? This must be the truth. I've already established it's the truth. So I'm going to accept it for my own benefit. And since I'm accepting it, I'm connecting with God, I'm having a relationship with God, I shouldn't fear anything. God is on my side. You see me, I'm here, I'm very happy, drinking my iced tea and enjoying the truth. What's the problem? You can do the same. Like, we're not saying just, become Muslim and do some crazy thing or whatever. No. You become a Muslim, you're going to live your life, but you live your life as a believer. Of course, you'll have 2 billion brothers and sisters. You'll continue living your life. But the things that are not beneficial for you, you'll avoid. And you will give gratitude to the one who gave you everything. The one who created you, the one who gives you life, the one who allows you to exist. So that is something you need to ponder upon, right? It's something you need to think about and ponder upon. Am I someone who's looking for the truth or not? And look, try this. You know how Muslims pray? We put our forehead on the floor. Have you seen Muslims prostrate before?
Yes.
You can put on Google Muslim, and then you can say sujood, SUJOOD or something. And then try to do this. Go put your forehead on the floor and ask God. Just say God, right? God, the creator of this universe, guide me. Do you have anything to lose? No. Tonight, go purify yourself, maybe take a shower, purify yourself, and so you can meet God in the pure state. Prostrate and say, oh God, try it. Genuinely, sincerely do it from your heart. You can say, God, if you're there, the creator of the universe, or the God, guide me to the truth. That's all you should do.
Okay.
Right? Nobody's going to ask you to pray to any human being. No, just do that. And then investigate what the evidences that you've been given. And if they are the truth, then be a person of sincerity. Be a person of integrity, a person of sincerity, and accept the truth. It's a gradual process. You accept Islam, you step by step learn, you implement the truth in your life a bit by bit, you avoid things which are harmful. That's it. Islam is easy and is bringing you benefit in your life. Nobody should stay away from something that brings them benefit. Is there anything else? Of course, no worries. Is there any? All right, perfect. All right. Hopefully we'll see you again. Maybe when you're ready to accept Islam, when you are already a Muslim,
I think
Hopefully,
I need
inshallah.
to think about what you've told me.
Yes, of course. I can see you're processing information. That's why I said it's not about rushing you, about getting you to do the thing. It's about you processing information and taking that step when you're ready, right? Mm-hmm. All right. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank
you.
And
hopefully we'll talk again. All right. Bye-bye. See you.
Bye.